Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by your favourite avatar from down under. Ben and I'm reviewing probably one of my most anticipated films of 2025, especially from a blockbuster's perspective, because I don't think there is a director out there like James Cameron who just delivers and delivers and delivers for however long, for 40 odd years realistically. And without further ado, it is the third entry in the Avatar franchise, which obviously the first one being 16 odd years ago now, 2009, I believe it was, and then Way of Water came out, 2 years ago, and then we've got Fire and Ash, which essentially it picks up almost immediately after the events of The Way of Water. It's a couple weeks later, and the story just unfolds from there. Obviously, you've got James Cameron once directing the film. You have got all your existing cast members from the previous film with a few newbies. You've got Una Chaplin, who plays Varang, who you can actually see pictured back here, which is somewhat of your fire villain this time. And to get straight into it, I'm ecstatic to say James Cameron has done it once again. I can't help but feel just in awe of the filmmaking on display here, the technical marvel that it is. Some of the shots I was watching, I genuinely don't know if there's many directors out there that could actually make it or even look at it and go, yep, that's how he's done it, because I genuinely am confused about how this is possible. Obviously, it's very much technically similar to the second one, being that there's such a short gap in between them. They made them at the same time. Obviously, you might have had a year or so on visual effects more than that one. But overall, I'm just in awe. Firstly, I actually think this is probably the most emotional film of the three, which is really surprising to say, considering in the second one you obviously dealt with the loss of a child. I'm presuming if you're watching this, you've seen the second one, but obviously the loss of a child within the Sully clan. But it's really interesting because it obviously deals with the aspect of parents navigating grief, and Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana probably give their best performances as Jake and Neytiri in this film, and I think they're really impeccable. I think Zoe specifically is fantastic. Sam's got, like he's obviously been always this kind of stoic character, which, bar here and there, and the second one with a few moments, and this one, you still kind of learn a little bit more, and there's a little bit more of Jake that you learn and get to know. And I actually really enjoyed that aspect to it. I think Chaplin is a fantastic addition. I think she is impeccable. And I also think Lang is once again Stephen Lang, who plays Quaritch, is also fantastic once again. Sorry, I was just checking the name of his character. Overall, I just think everyone delivers probably the best performances of the whole trilogy in this film, especially and obviously with the new additions. But I think fans of the previous two are going to be ecstatic with this. I do think it's probably the most action packed of the three. It is jaw dropping. Some of the action sequences are incredible. And there are some emotional payoffs that have coincided with obviously the previous few and the development that we see these characters go on. And I also think the lore of Pandora that continues to evolve, you get some much more needed character development between Spider and Kiri and obviously the Sully kids. And there's extremely great payoffs here, and it's obviously hard to give any judgment to some decisions, because come the fourth or fifth film, if they continue to be made, obviously it might come full circle. So but overall, this does feel like somewhat the end of a trilogy in the sense, because it'll be interesting to see where it proceeds from there. I know obviously the fourth and fifth, I think the fourth's coming out like 2029, so it's going to be 4 years wait, which is much less than obviously the previous 15-year wait. But it's obviously not as much of a leap forward in the technology from the first to the second one. I think personally, the way this sits and the more I think about it, I do think this is potentially my favourite of the three, just due to the actual character development you get here, the aspect of, as I said, dealing with grief, and the emotional scenes throughout this film that really grounded, along with this impeccable action sequences that are just so exciting and fun to watch. And I do think, obviously, it's pretty easy to say. I do think it is still quite a long film, clocking in at 3 hours and 20 minutes. And overall, the plot of this one does feel more or less the same as the second one. Obviously, there's character development and things like that. You obviously separate the two, but the bare bones of the plot feels very similar. But I still really can't fault it. This is blockbuster making to the absolute top notch, in my opinion. I don't think there's anyone out there like James Cameron who delivers spectacles like this. And this is the film you go tell everyone go see in a theatre because it deserves that. And I can't wait to see it again, if I'm being honest. And I can't wait to see it again in IMAX 3D, which is luckily enough where I saw it tonight. But I am just ecstatic to say that this is just continuing to be a phenomenal trilogy, a phenomenal filmmaking feat. The technological advancement that we have in visual effects, in motion capture, in that aspect, obviously, your high frame rates being underutilized in films, even 3D, when done right, it's done right, but it proves that no one can do it like James Cameron. I'm just in awe of this filmmaking spectacle, and I beg people to go see it. I can't wait to see the fourth. I can't wait to see the fifth. But if you have seen it, comment below, let me know what you think. If you like the review, give us a like, subscribe for more, and we'll catch you next time.